One. Welcome to MindBody TV. I'm Dr. Kim Duramo. I am going to share here today a really powerful topic that is coming up in my life in droves, and that is for EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique, which is a really powerful mind-body tool to reset and realign the nervous system for kids. We do have the Tapping World Summit starting very soon. And Nick and Jessica Ortner have already put out the first video, which is like the pre-video for that. We shared that this week. I'll have Alicia share it here today. If you haven't learned about EFT tapping, this is, I think, the best way to start, the best place to start, because they are applying EFT tapping, which is, it's a mind body tool. It's a way of releasing subconscious programs that are really keeping your life stuck or keeping your health stuck, and also releasing belief systems or the way your nervous system gets patterned around like traumas or memories or difficult situations that actually blocks health, blocks vitality, and keeps you from choosing your life fully, really literally creates your life in limitation. And they're using it to, for health, which is one of the things I've used it for the most, but also for money and for relationships, for energy and, productivity. There's all kinds of different experts they have talking about it. So you can sign up for that free summit, and we'll share. Thank you, Alicia. She is sharing the link for that, where you can get that first video. So yeah, people are like, how do we sign up? It's right here in the thread. Oh, if you put it also, Alicia, in the YouTube thread, that would be awesome. So for those of you who don't know me, I am a physician who's been sharing mind-body medicine for self-healing for, I guess, like maybe 15 years now. I am emergency medicine trained. So as a doctor, I trained in trauma and critical care medicine, but I was an osteopathic doctor to begin with, which is all about how the body heals itself, how the mind and body are connected, and how what is happening within us creates what is happening outside of us. And so this is a really great technology to apply when we're dealing with this topic today, which is kids who are having either health challenges that don't seem to make any physical sense, or that like really aren't getting better no matter what you do, pain syndromes, things like that. Or kids who are having anxiety disorders or social anxiety, or have had even things that register as a trauma that might not be an overt trauma, where you're like, this kid's been happy and healthy, had a good meal every day, slept in a warm bed, there's no trauma here. But the reality is, even being in a society, being raised in a society that tells us our worth is outside of us, our only value is in what we produce and our productivity, that what we feel doesn't matter, that it's really about our actions and what we do. That is traumatic, especially for sensitive, highly sensitive beings, or empaths, which most children being born over the last, I think it's 20 years now, have extra energy centers. They are more sensitive, and they're built that way for a really good reason, but they're not going to just kind of go with the flow of some of the BS and the belief systems that have been going on in our society that will actually register as a trauma in that system. And even for those of us who are very sensitive or empathic, you understand what I mean. It like really is a shutdown to your own wisdom and to your own energy system. And so the school system that just has us focus on like the learning and the books and the scores and the grades, instead of actually looking at like, who am I? What's important to me? How am I feeling? And how can I be more in a harmonious relationship with myself so that I can be in a more harmonious relationship with my world? That is actually what would create a highly successful society, but it's kind of like entirely left out of the education system as it is, which is, why there are many new ways being created right now. But if you've had a kid, either your own child or a child in your life who's suffering from that the trauma of being empathic or has had an injury, like these things get patterned in the nervous system and can kind of shut them down. Or, my daughter had a fall skiing a few years ago. And we noticed like there are a lot of things that change after that, that she was really skittish around certain things and with sports or activities, because these things get patterned into the nervous system as that like event. Now you're going to like protect that area subconsciously, or just not want to enter situations that the subconscious perceives as a risk. Or even those physical injuries can translate into social anxieties, which would seem unrelated, but they're actually very related when it comes to our nervous system patterning. So if you have had struggles yourself, or you're noticing kids in your life that you care about struggling, EFT is one of the most powerful, most profound, like it really gets deep in the system, and fastest modalities that I've found to work with, especially for kids. Kids' systems are so resilient. And I have an amazing success story to share that exemplifies this. But their systems are so resilient. And I've worked with parents and kids where we would do like one session with the kid, and the kid was completely free from the illness. And some of these were like, it was a year long. This one kid was having abdominal pain, really bad stomach pain, vomiting. He'd been to like 8 different GI specialists in the Boston area, which is where I was living at that time. And no one could figure out what's going on. He had multiple medications, but he'd also developed an anxiety disorder. And I think I shared about this story recently. Long story short, we did one session with that kid and used some EFT tapping and tied what was happening for him back to a particular incident where he was playing basketball and he puked on his shirt, and he was super embarrassed. There was lots of shame. And then the way the dad responded and then the pressure he felt actually had this get locked into his nervous system. And it literally created this physiologic illness, pain, panic attacks and anxiety attacks, social issues. And over the course of the year, they were like at their wits' end. After one session doing tapping with this kid, he was, I think, 6 at the time. And we did 2 sessions with the mom, which moms are usually the most powerful electromagnetic force in a kid's life or in the home. Not always the case, but it's almost always the case. And she had a lot of clarity and a lot of realizations come up through the tapping that allowed everything to be significantly different in the home. He got off his medications. He no longer had any physical symptoms of the abdominal pain or the digestive issues, and the social anxiety went away as well. So he no longer needed medications and therapy and a lot of things that they were trying to do to help him manage. But that is not the amazing success story that we have today. So stay tuned in just a moment for that. I'm just going to welcome everyone who's here. So hello, Louisa from Montreal, Holly in New York, Heidi, hello in Colorado, Kelly, hello. People are in Facebook, but I can't see the names. Vancouver, BC, Calgary, tapping rocks. All right. Austria. I thought it said Australia. Austria. That is very exciting. I'll be in Australia in a few months. I know a lot of our community is from down under, and I will be there as well in April. Okay. So let's have a breath. One of the things I want to be sure to do is treat this topic with the utmost compassion. It is no joke when we are struggling with dealing with challenges with our kids that are like a conundrum. And so I think the only thing worse than dealing with our own conundrum of like, why isn't this going away? Why isn't this getting better with health or fatigue or pain or relationship patterns over and over again, or money challenges, is seeing your kid suffer, seeing your kid have an unrelenting medical issue and pain and discomfort and illness and take over their lives. And so many of you in the community are aware of what Jessica has been dealing with recently. Jessica is one of our coaches in the program. She's absolutely amazing. She's integrated this work like just such a sovereign being. and overcome a very, very severe illness where she was in the bed for like 3 years, told probably there's nothing we can do, had severe Lyme disease, chronic fatigue syndrome, autoimmune disorder. And through this work is healthy, well, living an abundantly fulfilling life and sharing this work with others. And a couple of months ago, her child, who's so similar to my daughter, and they know each other as well, had an injury that then developed into a very severe pain syndrome. And so, if you've heard of RSD, which is reflex sympathetic dystrophy, usually it's preceded by some kind of a minor injury, sometimes a major injury, but usually nothing that's like so notable that it would cause this level of pain. And her daughter, I think it was within a week or so, began having severe, unrelenting, and excruciating pain in her leg where, this injury, minor, like a sprain of her ankle, had taken place. And they had seen, all kinds of specialists in pain management, in orthopedics, pediatric specialists for orthopedics, all over Boston. Even I had sent her to one of my favorite osteopaths who's incredible. But her system wasn't ready to really release this yet. And Jess was aware of what was going on and saw, this pattern, and that there are emotional things in place that will have this physical pain syndrome or sometimes physical illness manifest. But she did incredibly well through this, having been through her own journey, to be able to nourish her daughter through this in the timeline that was right for her. You cannot speed something up that isn't in that person's own timeline of when they are ready to allow a resolution. And so yesterday, it was my birthday. It was the best birthday I think I've ever had. And I started it off where we did a session with Brooke. And interestingly, obviously that was available to her all along, but it was not right. Wasn't ready. She wasn't ready. And I could feel into her system. And then like one thing after another happened where I had been up in Boston. I was going to see her. And then she had to go to the hospital and get rushed off in an ambulance because the pain was so bad she couldn't get off the floor. Okay. So this was a child who was for 2 months living downstairs. She couldn't go up to her room. Had to drop out of school completely. Her mom's like washing her hair on the couch because she couldn't even get up to the bathroom, giving her a sponge bath. She had several times to have the ambulance come and pick her up from the house because she couldn't, she went to the bathroom and couldn't get off the floor, or she couldn't move. And they just were at their wits' end and didn't know what else to do. Thank you for the birthday wishes. So, yeah, and Lisa says, I've had this for 23 years, RSD or a pain syndrome. And some people will go on to have this for years and years and years, but until we resolve what's at the root, I mean, of course, the body's going to keep trying to work itself out. And the premise of this is your subconscious is trying to help you. It's trying to, we looked at the 5 things that were going on of like, how is this helping you? And they were all very valid things that her subconscious system was trying to do for her. And so we talked and finally had our session yesterday. And Brooke was very forthcoming about being open. That's one of the most essential things with EFT tapping is there's a level of openness. Like, all right, let me receive something. I'm ready to receive something. And so the awareness of, this is challenging me enough, and I'm going to surrender, let go, and receive something. That is the most important part. You always need to ask permission, either from your own system or someone you're working with, if you're going to do tapping, because you're going to unleash a lot of energy. And if they're ready, it will just move right out. But if they're not, there's so much that comes up. And if they're still in that, I've got to hold it all in, it won't move through as easily and can be really jarring. So there were several things with Jess's daughter. One of them was some, I'm going to say, trauma that was going on at school with bullying and kids saying really mean things to her, and her as a sensitive being in this environment that was so traumatic over and over, where she's like, I can't deal with this. Subconsciously her system's like, let's get you out of here. So that was done. Issues in her relationships, like, it's hard to look at what's right about this when it's excruciating, severe, unrelenting pain that's like taking over your life. And God bless this young girl because she was willing to do this, very willing. And she saw, well, it's gotten me closer with my mom. I'm spending a lot of time with my mom, and our relationship has grown, and we've had so many conversations. But we also looked at, well, and then one of the things was she'd had other injuries where she'd fallen or she got hurt or this happened or that happened. And well, now I'm like bedbound. I can't get any more injuries. So I got that going for me. But one of the big nuggets was in her relationship with her sister, because in Brooke's system, she sort of learned to shut down, tighten up, toughen up, and march on. And it wasn't serving her because at school she was getting bullied. And at home, her sister wasn't aware of that tenderness. And it wasn't necessarily always completely kind with her sister. She's an older sister. So she'd be kind of hard on her, like, oh, why didn't you get that ball? Come on, that was your shot. You should have gotten it. Maybe just treating her like an older kid and not realizing that Brooke was hurt by that or needed more tenderness. And so one of the things she saw was how much it resolved that relationship with her sister, where her sister was so kind and so compassionate and so caring and loving and tender with her now. And that had been a distinct difference. So she was able to see that, right? So we're looking at benefits, like what could be the upside if you're dealing with a struggle, not just in the realm of health, but something that's like a persistent thing. Like, all right, if somewhere in my subconscious, which is obviously not my conscious, I wouldn't consciously give myself a injury or pain syndrome, but in my subconscious, what might it be trying to do for me here? And so these were the major things. And what we unwound through the tapping was her awareness of how she was really feeling, her awareness of how life seemed, like everybody was being hard on her, and that her closure was what created that. Like people couldn't really see how she felt. So she just kind of kept doing it. Versus if she could live in more openness and expression, people could know how to treat her. She could show up more and representing her own needs. Okay, so we did this amazing tapping session. She received a lot, like her system really was able to go deep and go there. We'll usually do like, one round and you just kind of tap on the tapping points, which I'll show you in a few minutes. And this kid, we must have done like 5 rounds with it before I even like stopped to check in, because I'm always checking in with that person, and I could feel her system was like a sponge. We're going, and more kept coming out and more kept coming up. And so the way I do tapping is very intuitive, where I can read right into the core of what's happening and will resolve that. Usually you want to do a round, check in, do another round, check in again. But I've done this for many years in a slightly different way. And she was like blowing my mind. So we did that, and we did an integration at the end where she just spoke to her cells and let her body know we can let go of that closure. We can let go of being tough. We can let people see what we feel and share what our needs are. So it's okay to get my needs met. And once you integrate that new neurologic pattern, because it is a brain and a neurologic pattern, it's okay to have my needs met. Your system is in a new alignment and it's doing the work for you. And so how you show up is different. The tone of your voice, the things that you say, the actions that you choose, they are informed by your nervous system. So it was massive. And the amazing thing that happened at the end of my days, I got a message from Jess, and she said, Brooke was able to she wanted to go up the stairs and go to her room. She was able to get herself all the way up the stairs. They helped her and get into her bed. And she even said, I want to take a bath, which she loves to take a bath. And, went and had a bath. And this was like, Jess was tearful because, oh my gosh, this is like a massive shift. And so I wanted to share the story. And today she's, she had another bath, and wants to go back to school, and she wants to do this and she wants to do that, and she wants to get active again. And so after over 2 months of, that this was not where she was at all, this is really a massive breakthrough. So I want to share more and more tapping and MindBody medicine with the world, because sometimes, especially someone said, I've had this for 23 years, you will be told in the medical perspective, that's all we can do. There's nothing else we can do. The day is done. And because we've exhausted the resources at that level, which is mostly the physical level, they draw that conclusion that there's nothing that can be done. But it's not actually true. And when we consider the truth that we are energy, that our emotions are energy affecting our body, that our neurologic patterning gets instilled by those memories or those trauma experiences, or the energy we're in, or our emotions, we can allow an unwinding. So let's get into some tapping. So the first thing you want to do in tapping is a check-in, right? So we're going to look, and if you do this with a child, I do have a specific program just for this. And in it, I'm really focusing a lot on the parent, because 90% of what's going on with the kid can resolve when that child is in a different energy field. And since the parents are that kid's most prominent energy field, dictating the energy field of their own system, this is really the wisest place to start. So the link for that is drkimd.com/kids. I'm pretty sure, if you could share that, Alicia. That's the MindBody Kids program. Anyway, that's for if you kind of want to go deeper into this work. What we'll do today will be, yes, the same for a 16-year-old, unquestioningly. We will learn a little more about tapping. And what you want to do is check in. So whether you're having like chronic fatigue or chronic pain, or, oh, I'm just living in all this anxiety and overwhelm, my life is just one thing after another of overwhelm, that's a pattern. Okay, we're going to look at that. Or maybe there's patterns in your money or patterns in your relationship that you're ready to change. So that's like the other major point, is you're ready to change. You know you're ready to change when that pattern becomes really painful, really bothersome, really getting your attention, or it's like, excruciating. That is because you're ready for a change. And the good news is it means your system is capable of integrating that change. So we will do, yes, Alicia, can you share the links on YouTube as well? Holly says, yes, ready for changes with my money. drkimd.com/kids is the MindBody Kids, but could you share the other ones too? Okay, so bravo for young Brooke and for Jessica, because a lot of what Jessica did was to that deep listening to cultivate the safe space for Brooke to emerge and let all of this go. But yeah, the main thing is, so many things we think are, hey, this is a physical thing, so therefore it doesn't apply to me. It's actually not true. All right, so we're going to check in, and then you want to grade on a scale of 1 to 10. So whether it's like maybe some minor thing, I had a friend this weekend telling me about her daughter who'd had like some injuries as well. And now she's kind of like holding back in her sport. That's because it's integrated in the nervous system. This is patterned in the nervous system to protect you. But obviously it's not protective, because if you have more freedom of motion, you actually can be more in charge of your body, and you're less likely to get injured again, versus like bracing and tensing, which that alone can create new pain syndromes. And I just want to honor everybody who's reached out in the last like maybe 3 or 4 weeks. This has been one of the hottest topics in my life. I've had over a dozen of friends and clients who are dealing with stuff with their kids. And it's just like, all right, we gotta do the broadcast for kids and really address this. So thank you guys for reaching out. So the first thing you'll do is 1 to 10. How severe of a problem or a symptom is this right now? And you can also look at how severe a problem is this in my life. Like maybe in this 5 seconds, I'm not really having that headache pain, but geez, every week I get that migraine, and this is really like 9 out of 10 severity. So you want to grade that. 10 is the most, 1 is the least, and you want to feel into, because you are going to pay attention to the changes that we make in your body. All right. And so you're going to grade that. You can write your number here, and you can even share like what is it that you're having a challenge with? Whether it's a physical, mental, emotional, or something in your life. I love you too. I love you guys so much. I love our community. I just can't say it enough. How grateful I am that we are together. Lua Maria Music. Yes, kids under 5 in the MindBody Kids program. There's a piece for kids under 5 because, they're not going to do the same, even 6 or 7 sometimes. They don't do the points the same way. And there's a really, really, really simple way to do it for very young kids. I have so many cool stories because one of my best friends has, I think she's 4, and she was having really severe anxiety and couldn't eat. And she'd sit down and breakfast and she'd try to start eating and she'd say, "Mommy, I'm getting this feeling again." And she'd get like a nausea, pain, and a lot of anxiety. And it had started, I'm not remembering the details very well, but it had started when she had vomited after eating something. So now, same thing as like that other kid that has a trauma and broke her arm gets a neurologic pattern in there for bracing against injury. This child who'd had, vomiting is now the body is trying to protect me from having that happen again. But now she's like not eating enough food and she's only 4. So this became a very severe problem. So we did tapping with her once and she was only 4. So we did like a really gentle way of like left and right brain tapping. And that very night at dinner, I got the message from Jamie that she sat down and she started eating and she goes, "Mommy, I didn't even have to, I didn't have any problems. I'm eating." And then the next day asked for the tapping, like, "Mom, can we do some tapping?" And they did some tapping and then she was able to eat her breakfast. So it is really massive, the power that nervous system alignment has on our physical. So definitely the MindBody Kids would be very, very beneficial for even really young kids. I find my daughter doesn't want to tap. Yeah, so you're going to do it for yourself because the more you are an open system, the more those around you can come into their own opening and their own choice. And you cannot rush that and you cannot have your own agenda. You just have to meet what comes up for you around the fact that she is in the state she's in. That's all you can do. But that's actually, I've seen that to be miraculously enough. Okay, so once you have your number, yes, it works with adult children. Hold on a second. Okay, we got 10s, 5, 6. So you want to do something that is maybe a 6 or above. I'd say a 7 or above, that you're like, "Oh yeah, this is pretty significant in my life. I'm ready to," because you're going to move through a little bit of discomfort when you bring all these emotions up to let them out. And sometimes I want to be at least a 6 or above. Okay, stress around not having enough money, something happening with your tongue and hand pain. Great. All right, so the first point is going to be, yeah, that is key. We cannot have our own agenda. Don't have your own agenda with your body either, because you're going to tap to like, make it go away, make it go away, versus like, I'm going to tap to nurture my system so my system can do the resolution it's here to have. I think that was the biggest key to the success with Brooke. Okay, so that's your karate chop point out on the outer edge of your hand. And you're just going to breathe in and breathe out. And we will do the setup phrase 3 times. So whatever it is, and if it is a challenge coming up with your child, what are you feeling, right? You can't tap for anyone else. You can only tap on what is arising in you, referent to what's happening with them. And you'll be amazed how much it shifts what's happening with them. So we're going to tap here and you'll say, even though I have this challenge, out loud, if you can. I choose to allow peace in my body now. We will do it 3 times, even though this is so challenging. I choose to allow peace in my body now. So just setting up the nervous system. Okay, this is a point that connects with the whole nervous system. Even though this is such a huge challenge or a huge pain or trauma, what do I do? I choose to allow peace in my body now. Okay, that's enough. Those are two different frequencies. So we acknowledge the frequency of where the alignment is at, and we acknowledge where we're going and where we're intending. Two different nervous system alignments. Okay, that's it. So that's your setup phrase. Now we go to the main points, and you can start with the inner eye. And all you need to do is breathe in and breathe out. But adding the words really help us hone in on that pattern. So you could say, this pattern I've been carrying. Outer eye, gently tapping from an injury or from that time this thing happened. And you could be specific for yourself. Ever since I broke my arm, ever since I had that ankle injury, ever since I don't even know what started this. That might be your point. I have no idea why I'm dealing with this. Okay, so we're going to tap on the trauma, on the pain, underneath the eye, all of this pain, all of this suffering. Under the nose, all of this experience, right? Because it might not be emotional. It might be like, I can't do my activities anymore. Just tap on that. I can't do what I want to do. I'm not free. On the chin, I'm just going to acknowledge what's coming up in my body. Breathing in, breathing out. All we're doing is bringing up the pattern. So bring it to your awareness under the collarbone. I'm ready to be aware of what's going on in here. Under the arm and everything I'm really feeling now. On top of the head, everything known and unknown that is keeping this pattern in place. Good. You're going to breathe in the nose and breathe out the mouth. If you make a noise, it's bonus. And you can breathe however you want to breathe, but that's a cleansing breath. And that actually really helps your body release everything that just came up around what we did. All right. All you're going to do now is check in again. What's your number referent to that same specific symptom or situation? There's 3 things that will happen when we do tapping. One is, oh my gosh, my number went down. I feel better. I feel a little bit lighter. Maybe I only went down 2 points, but yeah, there's a noticeable shift here. Okay, keep going. The second one is, oh my God, I just feel 10 times worse. I went from a 6 to a 9. What is going wrong here? But it's actually, that's a really good sign because that's the energy coming up. This happens very, very often when someone tells me, oh, no, this is not emotional. This is just physical. And then we bring up all the physical, this car accident, my left-sided back pain. It all started after XYZ. It's worse in the morning. They'll tap on the physical. And then they become aware of like, whoa, there's a heaviness underneath it. That's when the real core of it comes up and you feel quote unquote worse. That's the second option. It's a really good sign as well. The third option is, no, nothing. I don't feel anything. Nothing happened. And there's 2 reasons that happens. One is we block information. It's like kind of what happened in Brooke's system. She's subconsciously raised in an environment and a society that tells us, suck it up, toughen up, keep going, get over it. And she learned that, right? So instead of the softness and openness of like, well, here's what I'm really feeling. Like when you treat me like that, it doesn't feel good. So people could have that receptive feedback. It's a toughen, like, all right, I'm just going to put a shell, and that shell blocks health, and that shell keeps the wiring in a more hardwired space. So things can't heal fluidly. But what happens now is I'm not paying attention to what I feel, right? I've learned to shut it down. So that third option is like, well, nothing, I don't feel anything. We're not paying attention to the level where there is a shift. We're not consciously aware of the level where there is stuff opening or there is emotional energy moving. So we think we don't feel anything. it takes a minute for the brain to begin to shift to now pay attention to that kind of information. And I will continue doing the tapping, and then people start crying or yawning or like a lot of energy moving. And then the brain starts registering that sensation that was there all along. The second reason number 3 happens, I don't feel anything. There can be closure and protection in the system where it's like, no, 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 nope, there's nothing happening here. And we aren't ready to begin to acknowledge like the whole universe of the inner world. It's kind of a threat. So if that's happening, just ask yourself, am I ready to receive something I don't already understand and I can't control? And if the answer is no, keep going and living the syndrome for a little while longer, because that opening will eventually happen where you're like, all right, I'm receptive now. But don't try to push it up, the boulder up the hill. If you're not ready to have the opening, right? Because you're so used to living in control. No, I need to understand. You might not be ready for that opening. So that's the sort of the other reason is like people are in like a prove it to me. No, nothing happened, but they're not really ready to receive a shift. So that's the other reason why number 3 can happen. All right, I feel lighter and aware that there is a problem. Number 2, crying down to a 2. That's awesome. When tears release, that's energy moving. Oh, hold on. New awareness came in. There's a lot of fear around my new business, not bringing any clients. This is where not having enough money is coming from. Increase to 8. Good. And how you're getting to the core, Holly, of what the money challenges are is there's like some belief system. I got to bring in the clients, which is like heavy lifting. And that's not going to feel fluid in your system. So now you can tap on that. All right, let me just see over here. Great. I've had dysplasia on the tongue for 2 years, had laser surgery. The hand has become painful and the ring finger tendon is popping out. Yeah, so there's probably some fear as well. So tap on the physical and then you might feel like, whoa, there's fear. Yeah, so Shayla is like, nothing's changing for me. So we're either not tapping on not going the right direction, what we're tapping on, or you just want to do another round and kind of see if you can get on a ding, ding, ding of what are you feeling? And you can write this down, pen to paper. What are the symptoms? When does it happen? In the, a lot of the work I do will kind of go deeper into that. But today's just a little nugget, but you can write these things down and then you realize like, whoa, there's this belief about, why I'm not going to make enough money. Write those down because those are great points to tap on. Okay, good. I got a hysterectomy and I feel the epidural spot and tension in my body. Great thing to tap on. And it will show you where there may be resentment of like, oh, why did I let them do that to me? Or something else around that incident. Okay, so we're going to do a little bit more. And I still want to get a feel of anger at my mom. How could you keep me from living my dream when it was possible? Good. So you want to tap on the anger. Is my body out of alignment? Yeah, because the nervous system governs, like tension in the muscles, tension in the fascia, it can literally allow an unwinding that can let the bony alignment come into a more fluid and harmonious alignment and literally let the bones come back. Even if you don't necessarily put the force to bring them back, changing the tensions in your body, just walking around during your day can let it sort itself out the way we're designed to do. So this can make a huge difference even on physical alignment. I feel lighter from a 10 down to a 5. Awesome. All right. So let's do a little bit more while we're here. So inner eye, everything this experience brings up for me, breathing in, breathing out. Outer eye, everywhere I block it out. I don't want to feel this. Under the eye, everywhere I am bewildered. I have no idea what this is related to. Under the nose, I don't feel anything. Nothing is changing. I can't do it. On the chin, these are just ideas and thoughts I've resonated with. under the collarbone. Would I be willing to open to something higher? Under the arm. So my body gets what it needs. And this is like right here underneath the armpit, and can rebalance itself. Good, top of the head. I wonder what might be possible if I connect more deeply within. Okay, inhale. Let everything go. Okay, let's just see where we go with that. I want to feel what is coming up, especially for the people who said, I didn't feel anything yet. Taylor, I feel I can't let power through due to my mother's relationship with me. Good. So that's a good one to write down. And then you can tap on that. Oh, whatever this is stuck in my body, this belief, this idea. Okay. And then just go through all the points, all these ideas I've had. The part of the nervous system we're interacting with here is, I call it like the third nervous system. So we have the voluntary and the involuntary nervous system. And then we have this third one, which is the meridian nervous system. Now that meridian nervous system is very, very well understood and very, very well researched in Eastern medicine. In the West, it's pretty much entirely ignored as if it doesn't exist at all. And when we add that back into our understanding of how the body works, this is when we access really unthinkable potential for realignment. Okay, so we're going to go into memory/trauma of where the body is still bracing the old pattern. You can apply this to physical injuries or physical experiences, of course. But you can also apply it to, like, I got my heart broken in a relationship, and now I know there's this pattern of blocking people out or keeping people away or being in a fight. So, like, I don't let anybody really close. I had even if you didn't have trauma with money, like I lost all my money and now I'm afraid. Most people haven't even had that, but they're afraid with money. So you can tap on, the beliefs about money, the trauma of, I got to make sure to tighten up and do it right. It's all the same thing. It's where the subconscious is trying to protect you, but it actually is just a big limitation. Okay, so tapping on the inner eye. And you can repeat after me or say your own if it's more specific. I remember when this first happened. Outer eye, and my body is still bracing for me. Under the eye, all the ways my body is trying to protect me. Under the nose, from having that happen again. On the chin, all this protection just becomes a limitation. Under the collarbone, thank you, body, for trying so hard to take care of me. Under the arm, I honor my body and what it's trying to do. Top of the head, I wonder what it might be like to let this go. Inner eye, what would it be like to let myself be free? Outer eye, what if that protection is not serving me? Under the eye, what if I can allow a new alignment? Sometimes it's good to make noise. Under the nose, so my body can be way more free and open. On the chin, then I'd be stronger, not weaker. Under the collarbone, more resilient and more whole. Under the arm, moving through life more smoothly. under the arm, releasing protection and allowing real strength. All right, breathing in. Let everything go. Let your shoulders relax. Ah. Okay, I got some past comments here. I'm going to go, yeah, good. Fear and shame, no win situations. This is great because when those deep levels, especially fear and shame, come up to consciousness, that's when we're really, really clearing very, very deep energies. I have had a swollen pinky for years, have been told it's not, oops. Oh, sorry, wait a minute. I missed it. It just like refreshed my comments. Swollen pinkies for years have been told it's not arthritis. I've tapped on it with no resolution. Okay, this is a great question. So Nancy, and I want to hear from everyone where you're at after that last round. When we are doing the tapping, let yourself open to what might be underneath this. What might be keeping this in place? Because just asking the question brings you into the frequency of the solution. And with tapping, it's all about aligning a higher frequency into that third nervous system, aligning a higher frequency so that our entire system aligns with that, a higher consciousness. And just asking the question, right? The frequency of the solution lies at the frequency of the question. So if I'm asking, what's wrong with me? Like I did years and years back when I had a really severe autoimmune disease. What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? I kept getting solutions that were at that frequency. Oh, you got this, you got this, you got to do this, you got to do that. You got to work hard. You got to try, you got to avoid this. And it was like more work, more work. When I started asking a different question, what's right about this? I'm not getting. I got a very different answer, an answer that actually created real healing very, very, very quickly. So you also always want to remember that, like, wait a minute, what might it take for me to allow a resolution here? And you can tap on that. What might it? I wonder who it'd have to be to let that in. Well, I'd have to be a lot less complaining. I'd have to be a lot less guarded. I'd have to be a lot less angry in order to really be free. So that's a really, really great modality to use with tapping. All right, Alicia, will you share again the link for the tapping summit? We did share MindBody Kids. I think people have that, got some tears, but still tension. This is another important thing with tapping is put your attention on where there is an opening. You do not need to put your attention on where there's not. Even if it's only a 2%, like, whoa, there's actually something shifted. I got some tears. Oh, wait a minute, but there's still pain. You don't want to do that second part of the sentence. Stay in the, something's shifting. What would it take to allow even more of that? And then you will continue to move in the direction of opening. Thank you, Alicia. And can you share it in YouTube as well? Or I guess I could just, can I do that? I can't copy it, I don't think. Instead of complaining, let's ask questions. Yes. I'm remembering stuff that hurt me. Good. And if it's making you remember stuff, and she said, I'm still at an 8. So write those down. This idea, this thought, that thought. That's what you want to tap on, and you'll have even more powerful results. I feel uptight with opening my feelings and pain to anyone. I had a few tears come through. Yeah, that's where you want to go, right? I can't show anyone what I feel. It's not okay to let them see. I've got to stay hard. I've got to stay tight. Now, people will ask me like, wait a minute, aren't I doing a negative affirmation? What you're doing is you're neutralizing that frequency. You're neutralizing that thought. You're letting that thought know. That's why we did the setup phrase. It's okay to have peace with everything that's going on in my system. This thought and this thought and this idea. And oh my God, I hate myself. And you're letting it all just be seen, right? Letting it be seen is a way higher frequency than keeping it buried and like, oh, I can't let anyone see. So just tap on that idea. Wow, I can't let anyone see what I really feel. Where did that come from? This idea I have where I have to hide my feelings. I can't show anyone. I can't trust anyone. I'm just going to acknowledge this. Just going to acknowledge what I'm noticing right now and just be here with it. Breathe in and out and tap. right? So it's more about acknowledging, not about fixing. If you're trying to fix it, you're actually going to keep it in place. All right, I love you guys. Thank you, Kelly. Kelly is an amazing nurse up in Boston and happens to be a girlfriend from high school. I always love seeing you on here. I'm so glad you're getting something out of this. Oh, hello from Israel. Hello, Gatit. Great. Thank you, Alicia. This aligns beautifully with the breathing exercises, exhaling toxins, inhaling health. Keep up the good work. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So we have the MindBody Kids as an option if people want to go deeper. I'm always creating lots of resources, and that's one of the best ones I've created for kids. And the Tapping Summit is coming up. So I always encourage everyone who resonates with this to tune in for that. You can purchase the series and you have it for your library, which if the work resonates with you, hands down, is an excellent, excellent investment. So I always recommend that. It starts in, I think, like a couple weeks, but you'll have these pre-Tapping Summit videos to educate you about the tapping. Okay, great, great, great. Yeah, it's very deep. I know. And then what does that bring up, right? Like it's too deep. I'll never get there. Tap on that. You'll be amazed where you go when you start unwinding these things because they actually have no power in your system other than the power you give them by keeping them suppressed. So do your tapping, feel your body, get more in connection. Yes, yes. And you have governance. You have governance over your system. Is the MindBody Kids program for adults healing their inner child? I've had questions on that as well. It definitely is applicable to that if you're getting tuned into what's happening in you. And in the videos for parents, there's a lot about like, how am I being with my own inner self? That's affecting, your kid's going to play that out. They're going to show you, even though it's usually unconscious. And do not ever make yourself wrong. As a parent, it can be really hard to say like, wait, some of the energies and tensions I'm holding in my system have been suppressive to my kid. And if you're making yourself wrong for that, you won't even go there. But if you're noticing like, well, I'm not the most conscious person in the world, but I'm willing to be more conscious day by day. I'm willing to own more of what's really happening in my space. And I don't need to make myself wrong. I'm just going to choose to let it go. That's where you become a parent from love instead of from fear or judgment. So thank you guys for tuning in. My heart goes out to any parents who are dealing with these kinds of struggles with kids. I've had stuff come up as well with Gemma, and it's been beautiful when we use this approach to move through that because we see her flourish and we see her shine and we see so many incredible things change. So great, great, great. Crying, sobbing, open mouth, ugly cry. Yes, that's the best. Good. Tilting my head back and letting it out. Yes. So sometimes the body's going to do sounds. It's going to do movements. It's going to do, water coming out. It's all awesome. Your body knows how to recalibrate. I love you guys. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for tuning in. I'm here every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Mountain Time for MindBody TV in the MindBody community in Facebook and in my YouTube channel, Dr. Kim Duramo. We are sharing the link for Nick's Tapping Summit. So you can read in the comments here. If you're not subscribed at drkimd.com, definitely subscribe if this work is resonating with you because we'll share these different invitations and resources and tools with you regularly. I love you. Thank you for Alicia and Jess for being part of the team and for being here. And I guess we just dedicate this to Brooke. We love you so much, Brooke. You are a warrior. You're already changing the world for so many kids and adults everywhere. Love you guys. I'll see you soon. Bye.